Mhm. Hello, welcome to my live stream. This is day 3 of 99 days of deeper embodiment. My name is Jason King. So, the intent of this live stream series is to dive deeper into being present as the self, even in the midst of very challenging circumstances, even in the midst of chaos and destruction of what we what we want, destruction of what we have always thought is real, destruction of the way that we want it to be. You see, because the way that we want it to be isn't isn't the truth. And so that shows up. It shows up in a way that is uncomfortable. It shows up in a way that doesn't feel good. Anytime we're believing something that limits us, anytime we're believing something that isn't the truth, then we're going to end up feeling that, and we're going to end up seeing that. What is the truth? Let's go there first, because that makes this whole thing much easier. The truth is peace within. The truth is this moment. And in this moment, there's nothing bringing me into the past and nothing bringing me into the future. It just is here now. And from this place of seeing, then anything that takes me out of what is here or now is recognized as mind or as thought. And here, in now, I don't have an identity. I don't have a name. There's no me in particular. It's just here. It's very simple. And so when we talk about deeper embodiment, what we're talking about is staying here now all the time, even when navigating life, even when navigating work and jobs. And well, work and jobs are the same thing, often, not always. Even when navigating children and relationships, staying here, present as the self, and not getting dragged into thought. And even if I follow thoughts, seeing that it's the self doing it and staying here. And so, as I consciously become aware that this is what embodiment is, and I choose to stay here as the self now, and this is where I want to be all the time, then anything that takes me out of it becomes very clear. So, why do I want to be here all the time? Why do I want to be present now all the time. What would be the benefit of that? For one, this is what awake is. As soon as I'm present, here, now, I'm awake as the self. There's nothing else. There's nowhere else to be. There's nothing else to do. And so it makes everything easier. Anything that comes up is easier to meet at this point because it gets met in wholeness. It gets met with peace. It gets met without anything resisting it at all. Because what do I know about it? I'm here now. I don't have any ideas about it. I don't know anything about it at all, you see. So it gets met from a place of unknowing. And when it gets met with from this place of unknowing, that's not forming a story around it, that's not making it an idea about me, about this person, then it moves on naturally, all on its own. Nothing to do about it. And so, what does this look like in practice? This looks like oftentimes being in a situation where someone is angry at you or angry in general, and there is a trigger or a charge that comes up, and meeting that trigger or charge in the spaciousness that you are without judging it, without creating a story around it, without resisting it. Curious. Oh, what is this? This is anger. Okay, let me listen. Let me be present with this. No ideas about it. The other day I was driving here in Brooklyn, and I was moving into a lane because the lane was cut off in front of me. And the car that I was moving into the lane by, and everything is moving slow. In Brooklyn, the speed limit is 25 miles an hour, so there's no there's nothing moving quickly unless you're breaking the speed limit. And so I'm moving in, and the car to my left that he didn't want to let me in. He had an idea around it that I was supposed to ask him first, rather than just seeing that there's a car here that has to move over and I'm just going to let him in. In his mind, there was an idea that says, "No, you this person needs to ask me before they move over." Okay. So he starts screaming because I'm just moving over and rolls down the window and starts screaming again. And rather than make an issue out of it because I don't feel any way about it. I listened and said, "Oh, okay, I hear you. You believe that I'm supposed to ask you before I move over into this lane when there's something blocking my lane, and that's okay. I hear you." And in listening in that moment, then I was able to feel his perspective and allow for it. Allow it to be there. And so the whole situation just diffused. It just dissolved, you see. So I tell this story to just give a sense of how deeper embodiment works or how it plays out in the everyday, to give an idea or a sense of why we would want this. Why would we want this? Because it facilitates understanding. When the ideas feel that they're deeply heard, when they feel that they're met, then they move on. They don't stick around. They don't stay. It's only when they're not deeply heard or deeply met that they keep coming up. And if they keep coming up, then there's a lot of resistance to them, obviously. There's a lot of resistance to hearing them, to seeing them, to letting them be. From presence, it's seen that all ideas are simply that, ideas, and that there's no idea that's better than any other idea. There's no perspective that's greater than any other perspective. And this is very challenging to the mind. It's very challenging to the game of humanity. The game of humanity is my perspective is better than yours. But from the self, there is no perspective that is greater than the self. All perspectives are within the self, and they're all completely loved. Not just loved, enjoyed. Enjoyed. Enjoyed is the best word for this. So as I find myself in a place where I can be with anything, then there's a natural lightness that comes from that. And so I can describe this as, okay, I spent a lot of years lightening my body to be able to heal others, lightening my body in order to shift reality. So I spent a lot of years working with plants, lightening my body that way, and then a lot of years working with teachers of 5D practices in order to lighten my body that way and my mind, because they're the same. And in lightening the body, then what I found was that it takes a lot of energy to lighten, a lot of focus, a lot of concentration, and a lot of work. And then eventually I just got exhausted. It's like, okay, I'm doing all this work all the time to keep myself light. And then I'm walking around a city where everyone is running very heavy ideas and very heavy perspectives. And what can I do about it? I'm feeling all of these heavy ideas. I'm feeling all of these heavy perspectives, and they're heavy. They don't feel good. They feel very heavy. Um, and so then working with Sumairu over time, what I have discovered within myself is the ability to just be with any perspective, and there is the lightness. It doesn't matter if it's light or if it's dark. The ability to be with it all the time, always, here, now, is where the lightness is. It's just naturally light because there's nothing holding on to any of it. There's nothing making any of it anything to do with anything at all. And so then it all just becomes naturally what it is. Now, this is difficult. This is challenging when we're running in the collective some really heavy perspectives, the perspectives of disease. I mean, what is COVID? What is that that's showing up? Everyone wants to play this idea of being a body and being a body that's vulnerable. It's an enjoyable game. It's enjoyable for the mind to play that. It's enjoyable for the self to play it. So when confronted with that, when we're seeing that, then the way that I look at it is, oh, the self likes to play that. It's enjoying that perspective, and then that brings lightness to it. Like, oh, okay, look at that. All right, the self likes to play that. It's playing that out. It wants to play that, and it makes it all so much lighter. It's just okay. It can be there. I don't have to do anything about it. I don't have to change it. I don't have to shift it. So many people are getting really bent out of shape about wearing masks. It's like, oh my God, should I be wearing a mask? Should I not be wearing a mask? What do I do? Well, you're none of it. So it doesn't matter what you do. Just be with what's there. And the mind doesn't want to hear that. It wants to make a story out of it, and it wants to pretend that it's responsible for something. You're not doing any of it. The self is doing all of it. So to take it on yourself to be doing something is very stressful. It makes it very stressful. So here I am doing a 99-day series where it really 99 days, all I'm pointing to is the same thing every single day. Relax. Be with what is. Be with it. Just be with it fully and completely. Here. And I'll keep saying it over and over and over again because there's a lot of perspectives that come up that we've been really challenged by, that have been very tricky to be with. One of them is not having money. Oh my goodness, what a challenging perspective that is. So that brings me to a question that came up. So I'm going to read the question and then I'll get into an answer for it. Let me just pull up the question here. It's kind of long, so bear with me. Would love to hear you expand upon. Okay, I'm going to skip that part um, for now, and we'll go back to it. Well, actually, I'll just read the whole thing, and then I'll answer it as the self wants to address it. So, would love to hear you expand upon manipulation, examples for which it is used to create identity in relationships, for connection to a group's way of thinking. Is it an avoidance of fears around aloneness? Sometimes a false sense of safety in numbers versus understanding, embracing our sovereign power. In health of the physical body, is it a spiritual bypass to claim that we are whole and complete in affirmations each morning? I can see where the mind uses justification manipulation to avoid being with and feeling through pain, labeling it as good or bad when we should ask, what lesson is this pointing me to? Why do I feel the need to be anywhere other than here and love and accept myself at this stage? In wealth, dance through each phase with confidence in God instead of buying into the ideas that broke is miserable and rich is comfortable. Or the 180 of that perspective, are there expansive views that create a new way of transacting value? Can I accept radical change and let it evolve into something I don't yet understand as a way of being each day? Okay, there's a lot here to unpack. um, Manipulation. I did hit on that yesterday. I spoke a bit about that yesterday, and thank you for the opportunity to dive into it a little bit further because it feels helpful to have some clarity around that. Manipulation, the way that we use that term, is often meant to manipulate others. Very rarely do we use the term to mean manipulate myself. And when I use the term saying, okay, manipulate in the form of manipulating others, then I'm creating two identities. I'm creating the identity of myself, and then I'm creating the identity of other in my mind. So there is a me that is manipulating an other, or there is an other that is manipulating a me, you see. And so I'm holding those ideas, those perspectives, and I'm guarding them very closely because this is a fun game that we all like to play, or at least the mind likes to play on this planet in particular. It's very it's very keen on playing out ideas of victimhood, ideas of being taken advantage of, ideas of being manipulated, ideas of and we can get into heavier perspectives, ideas of being raped, ideas of being violated, um, ideas of codependency. There's a lot of very heavy perspectives in relationships that have been being played out on this planet over long, long, long period of time. And so when we move into a clear seeing around this, then what we begin to see is that, wow, these are identities that I am holding, and they have to do with ideas that have been programmed into the socially constructed mind. And so the idea is that there is an other that can manipulate you and that you can be hurt. And then the the flip of that is that you can manipulate others and that you can hurt others. You see. And so this is a very classic way that the mind creates identity. And so anywhere that we see manipulation going on in our behavior or in our reality, in the sense of trying to manipulate a situation for my advantage, then that is a clear indicator of where I may be holding a belief or an identity. Now, does that mean that I necessarily have to go in and look at it? No, not necessarily, because if I can see that the self is playing that out and allow for it, then I'm right here, right now, and it will just go on its way. You see, this is where the lightness is. It's in the permissiveness to allow this to play out. Can I go into it and begin to look at what the identity is and look at what the belief is or the limiting thought and belief and then pop out of it by feeling through it completely? Sure, I can. But the idea here with full embodiment is to just be present all the time with all of it. Allow these perspectives to be there. Yes, there's a perspective, there's a heavy perspective that I don't have enough money and that I'm a person that doesn't have enough money. And so then what's coming up around that is the need to manipulate in some way, form or fashion in order to get money, and see that the self is doing that. And in seeing that the self is doing that, then a lightness comes in around it without judgment. There's no actual me that's playing that out. I'm seeing that it's just playing out. And so there's no more judgment around it. And so then I can allow that perspective to fully integrate. And that's all that it really wants anyway. to fully integrate the feeling of I'm losing control. I don't have money, and be present with that. As soon as I get into a place where I'm starting to say that this perspective is better than this perspective, and I want to shift this perspective, and I don't like this perspective, then I'm deep in mind. There's a lot of mind movement there, and so wherever there's a lot of mind movement, then there's less embodiment. Why is there less embodiment? Because I'm not just being here now with feeling the uncomfortability of what is. It feels very uncomfortable to sit with a perspective that heavy. There's a lot of panic attached to it. And it's that panic that is creating the movement. Oh, I need to do something about this right now. So let's see what else that question has involved there. Aside from manipulation, we just hit on the manipulation aspect of it. In relationship, I think that we basically got into that with the idea that even in relationship, I if I'm projecting the idea of someone manipulating me or the idea of me manipulating others, then I am fully in ignorance at that point. There is nobody there that is manipulating you, period. As soon as I pick up that thought, then I am 100% in ignorance. And what does that mean? Hold on one moment. What does that mean when I say that you're 100% in ignorance or I'm 100% in ignorance? And I use I and we and me interchangeably simply to bring or highlight different things. However it wants to come out. It's not speaking about a you in particular or me in particular. I don't see that. Um, so if I am 100% in ignorance, then I am fully in the projection. I am fully in the illusion. The illusion being that there are others that are manipulating me, or there are others that I need to manipulate. You see, so I am picking up the thoughts and I'm moving into the imagination and I am 100% in it at that point. I have now limited myself into being this body, and in being this body, I am now playing out whatever it is that I'm believing there. And there's no actual integration happening there. For integration to happen, I have to stop. Boom. No more projection. Then the perspectives have to hit a blank slate. They have to hit presence. They have to hit stillness. If they can't hit stillness, if I just pick them up and then I move with them, then I'm just energizing that entire reality. So this is why it's so important, this series, this satsang series of 99 days of deeper embodiment, because right now there's so many perspectives arising that are asking to be picked up, that are asking to be played with. Every single one of them. We watch the news one day, we get on social media, we walk outside, and everyone is inviting us to pick up an idea and to play with it. And we can find ourselves really deep in ignorance very, very quickly, playing out an imagination that is very unfriendly, that is not fun at all, that is super unkind. and has nothing to do with what's real. Is there anything wrong with picking it up and playing it? No. This is what the self is doing, and this is where the lightness comes from. I can integrate all of this because I allow it all to be there. It's all okay. There's nothing wrong with any of it. However, the intent of this 99 days is to bring us into a place of true seeing. True seeing in the sense that now you see what's happening. You see what's playing out, and that you are in the driver's seat in the sense that you can be here present, and there's no idea that you need to actually pick up. If the self wants to pick up an idea, okay, wonderful. That's a fun idea to pick up. Go ahead and do it. Enjoy. Have fun. But there's none that need to be picked up. Do we have to pick up heavy ideas about not needing to wear masks or needing to wear masks and get into that debate where we're arguing one side or the other? Feel that. Feel it right now. Drop that into your heart and feel that entire perspective. What is that perspective? There's a lot of jagged points to it. Feel the whole thing. Feel it all in your heart right now. You're none of that. Let's get clear about that here and now. You are none of that. Now, because the self is balancing out collective ideas and beliefs, then can you get pulled into playing out a role for that? Sure, absolutely. Is there anything wrong with with playing a role for the collective? No. It's what the self is doing. There's nothing wrong with any of it. Hmm. So, in relationships, there is an opportunity to move deeper into an embodiment in being able to sit with ideas that feel really real, that have to do with the ego or the inner child, or however you want to address that, these egoic ideas and structures that are running throughout the body. And so, for example, if I'm in a group and then I start feeling as if the group is rejecting me, I start feeling as if the group is turning against me. And this is something that's been very common for me throughout my life. Being a 5-1 in human design, a lot of people project their garbage on me. I become that's what a heretic is, a 5-1. It's like, oh well, you are either my savior or you are the devil himself. So I've had that from a really young age. A really young age, I would be in a classroom and everyone would be hating me, making fun of me, and I would feel them whispering behind my back. So this sort of dynamic in a group, if this is what's coming up, what's being asked to be integrated is recognizing that, oh, I'm not any of that, and just being present with it. I can be present with the ideas that feel that way, that feel neglected, that feel rejected, that feel like they're not part of a group. I can fully and completely allow that. And this is where it gets panicky. This is where it gets hard because the reaction is no, I want to play that out. I want to be the person that is the victim here. I want to yell at you and scream at you for hurting me. I want to do that, you know? So that's where it gets that's where there's a pull. And if we get pulled into that and start playing that out, is there something wrong with that? No, absolutely not. It's the self wanting to play that out. And it gets seen that oftentimes the self will play this out because it's unwinding things in other parts of itself, because it's all the self doing itself. So if I'm at a family gathering and I move into these ideas and I start playing them out, and a whole scene erupts at a holiday, which has happened to me more than once, then what's really going on is that the self is unwinding heavy perspectives within a group. And so this is where we want to get savvy within group settings, and um, this is what I feel personally we are evolving towards, where we stop identifying, where we stop projecting, and then it's no longer personal. It's no longer about a me or about a you. It's just about recognizing, oh, there is a charge here. There is an idea here. Let's get curious about that together. What is this? Okay. And then without any projection and without any identification, then we can integrate it together. And then the group evolves together. And the deeper that we can go into this together as a group, the more that we start to switch on what might be considered superhuman capabilities within ourselves. The more our psychic ability to connect with one another switches on, the more that we connect with knowing, pure knowing that just comes from knowing because the self is always knowing. So, in a way, this is why I feel that these 99 days are so important. And this is why I've committed to holding this space for 99 days and diving deeper into this, because we are moving into evolving as a group. It is necessary now to be able to be in a group setting without projecting. This is maturity. Immaturity is playing with the toys, running around, you did this to me and you did that to me and I am this and I am whatever you want to call me, black, gay, transsexual, homosexual, and whatever name you want to put there. Um, I am from another country, another state. I am whatever label that we want to put there, and then we start banging that drum. Boom, boom. I am this. Boom, boom, boom. I am this. Boom, boom, boom. And that's the perspective. And so we just start, beating up against lots and lots and lots of those perspectives all over the place. And this is very jagged, very, very jagged, because everyone is beating a drum, and every single drum, it has a different rhythm. And each one of those rhythms is bouncing in the field. Boom, blah, boom, 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 blah, ba, boom, boom, boom. And so the field is just super noisy. But when we get clicked into the song of the South, which is here, now, there's no past, there's no future, there's just present. And we begin to allow the self to move everything which it always is for us, then we immediately get brought into a rapid fire evolution that brings us towards the self's idea of what is, which has nothing to do with these perspectives that everyone is holding. And the challenging part of that is that it doesn't look like anything that we've known. Well, I need money to live, and this is how life is, and this is our democracy, and our democracy should run this way, and this is how it's always been. And no, none of that. Doesn't look like any of that. And there's no way to touch it. There's no way to get in touch with it without dropping all of the ideas about who and what this is. And in doing that, the sensations will come up, lots of them. And the sensations cannot hurt you because every single one of those sensations is just ideas that have been there that need a conduit where they can integrate, where they can be integrated. And they're no longer just floating around without any place to go. Okay. So this has run a bit over the 30 minutes that I've allotted for this stream. But it feels like we've covered a lot today and that this was a very powerful stream. And so wonderful. I'm welcoming more questions. I know I didn't cover the rest of the health part of this question. Perhaps we'll get into that tomorrow. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm really excited about the rest of this series. So please invite anyone that you feel would resonate with this. I am streaming it to Facebook and to YouTube, and then I'm also posting it on IGTV. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful afternoon, beautiful morning, beautiful day, wherever you are in the world. I love you. Bye bye.